the real model for a nation is not a commercial enterprise, but a family. When a family gets in a problem, everybody chips in. Nobody's in it for their own profit.
But realistically, would the family scenario really work? Would the family model work in a political arena? You've got the House of, you've got Congress, you've got the Senate, you've got all the different agencies. How in the name of heaven would you get them to act as family members and work something out when they can't do that on their own right now as a political arena?
Right. I mean, we need to make a distinction between a bureaucracy and our modern systems of political systems, and the way political systems should be.
Mm-hmm.
What I claim in my book is that in America, and I would say also in Canada, just by extension, there have always existed two types of Americans: Americans who follow that co-op model,
mm-hmm.
and there are also Americans that also like very much the family model. There's always been a sort of a conflict between the two throughout our American history, and so there are sectors of American the American public who are very religious, who have some idea of honor,
mm-hmm.
Who are attracted by ideas like craftsmanship and quality, those types of things. And so I think we're seeing a fight between these two currents in our American society and probably by extension the Canadian society.
It seems as if those who want it to deal with quality and craftsmanship are a dying breed, and the techno geeks are taking the world over.
Well, there are different. Let me bring up an example that probably is very close to my heart. So let's say 50 years ago in the United States, there were 60 major breweries,
mm-hmm.
and they were giant breweries because of legislation that didn't allow them to get small. And they generally put out pretty bad beer. And the legislation, people had a sort of backlash against that. And so today you have the craft brewery movement, and now there are 2,300 breweries in the United States and producing quite good beer. People have a longing for that, a lot of the human element that's been taken out of industry and culture and society, and they have a longing for it. They want those kind of things. So you have both movements inside
mm-hmm.
society, the geeks and the craftsmen.
But when you're looking at the United States of America or any other major country, how can we use a brewery as a model on how to run a country? I don't understand it.
Well, brewery is just an example of people who desire quality and desire craftsmanship, etc. Obviously, a governing model would be much different. It would involve the people. It would involve a different type of politician, I would think, that we really don't see right at this point. Although you may see them in
mm-hmm.
localities much more than in the national sphere.
But
we need our statesmen and not politicians. We did have statesmen at one point, and the statesmen, like our founders
mm-hmm.
and others, that is the model, and they're a very rare breed these days.
They're a rare breed, I agree 150%, but have they outlived, or have they been put out to pasture by society because they cannot fulfill the needs of the people? And if we're saying that the country should be run by a family or as if by a family, if it is a company, if the company was based on a premise of a commerce, you've got the president, you've got secretaries. It's set up as a corporation. There's no denying it, and all the taxpayers are basically shareholders.
That's very true.
You fire the president. You demand his resignation. And that due process is in place, but people are very complacent. They don't want to actually get off their butts and do something about it. Everybody likes being an armchair quarterback.
Well, one thing I mentioned in the book, which is really quite interesting, is that sociologists talk about what they call representative characters
mm-hmm.
in all societies, including our own. And what they say is that that there are people. Every society has people who, by their qualities and by their ability to interpret what people want, represent or are symbols of that society, and that they exist even in our own society, although they are suppressed. What we have more often is unrepresentative characters that, like our Hollywood stars and sports figures and others, that really don't represent the real America or the real Canada. But they do exist. I think they do exist, or our country wouldn't run. We simply wouldn't be able to run a prosperous country unless there were people who looks out for more than just themselves and thought a bit about the common good.
I believe in the majority of situations, money is the major factor. It's those who can make the most money for others who is actually going to prosper. And it's the same thing in government. Money buys it. Lord knows, look what's happening with the VA administration right now. The mess it's in. You've got how many theaters where the armed forces are scattered? And then on the home front, you've got racial and, we're going backwards. And I'm talking about Donald Sterling and the hubbub that his fiasco has caused. And what really ticks me off about this is that he believed that he was, he shouldn't have to watch what he says in his own home.
Right.
So it seems that the entire country is really screwed up.
Well, that's for sure. There's no doubt about that. That is my thesis, and that's what I use that figure of the cruise ship facing a storm. Everything on the cruise ship looks fine. All the theaters are full, and the restaurants are just bustling. But under the surface and behind the scenes, there are a lot of problems that we're going to have to face.
Sounds like the Poseidon Adventure.
Very much so.
All right, John, please stand by. You and I have to take our news break here. Exonation.
All right.
John Horvatt II is my special guest, and we're talking to John about his book. It's entitled Return to Order, From a Frenzied Economy to an Organic Christian Society, Where We've Been, How We Got Here, and Where We Need to Go. His website is www.returntoorder.org. This is the X Zone, and I'll tell you what, my friends, John and I will be back on the other side of the news as we continue investigating the world of the paranormal, the science of parapsychology, and every topic under the sun. If it needs to be heard, you'll hear it here on the X Zone with yours truly, Rob McConnell. Don't go away. Are you considering calling a psychic to read your situation? Then consider David Champion, a psychic medium for more than 20 years with thousands of readings under his belt. David Champion will make you feel comfortable. He has proven to be honest and accurate. He's a straight shooter. There's no guesswork. What he sees is what you get. While he is a medium, most of the calls focus on relationships, not only love, but work, school, neighbors, and more. Need help with finding a job and preparing for the interview? Are you dealing with people who are obstacles in your path? For more information, go to davidchampion.com, $1.50 per minute paid by credit card with a minimum of 30 minutes. For your reading with David Champion, call 1-877-702-8598. That's 1-877-702-8598. Now you can dial in to listen to the X Zone radio show from anywhere in the world with Rob McConnell 24/7, 365 by dialing 213-401-0080. That's 213-401-0080. If you have a mobile phone or landline, the X Zone radio show with Rob McConnell is now at your beck and call at 213-401-0080. That's 213-401-0080, 24/7, 365. My name is Rob McConnell, and I'm the host and the executive producer of the X-Zone radio and TV show that is broadcast from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. And I have this op-ed that I would like to dedicate to Mr. Harper, the Prime Minister of Canada, Mr. Trudeau, and Mr. Mulcair. Instead of giving billions of dollars to banks that will squander the money on lavish parties and unearned bonuses, why not use my plan? You can call it the Rob McConnell Retirement Plan. Now, there are about 10 million people over 50 in the workforce right now here in Canada. Pay each and every one of them $1 million severance for early retirement with the following stipulations. Number one, they must retire. 10 million job openings, unemployment fixed. They must buy a new car. 10 million cars ordered, car industry fixed. They must either buy a house or pay off their mortgage. Housing crisis fixed. And they must send their kids to school, college, university, and there you have the crime rate fixed. They must buy $50 worth of alcohol or tobacco a week, and there's your money back in duties, tax, etc. It can't get any easier than that, can it? By the way, if more money is needed, have all members of Parliament pay back their falsely claimed expenses and second home allowances. And if you think this would work, please share my idea with the other members of Parliament. Also, here's another idea. Let's put the pensioners in jail and the criminals in nursing homes. This way, the pensioners would have access to showers, hobbies, and walks. They'd receive unlimited free prescriptions, dental and medical treatment, wheelchairs, etc., and they'd receive money instead of paying it out. They would have constant video monitoring, so they could be helped instantly if they fell or need assistance. Bedding would be washed twice a week, and all clothing would be ironed and returned to them. A guard would check on them every 20 minutes and bring their meals and snacks to their cell. They would have family visits in a suite built for that purpose. They would have access to a library, weight room, spiritual counseling, pool, and education. Simple clothing, shoes, slippers, PJs, and legal aid would be free upon request. Private, secure rooms for all with an exercise outdoor yard with gardens. Each senior could have a PC, a TV, radio, and daily phone calls. Now, there would be a board of directors to hear complaints, and the guards would have a code of conduct that would strictly be adhered to. Now, the criminals, on the other hand, in the nursing homes, would get cold food, be left alone and unsupervised, lights off at 8 p.m., and showers once a week, live in a tiny room and pay $300 per week and have no hope of ever getting out. Think about this one. More points of contention in this my editorial. And let's talk about cows. Is it just me, or does everyone else find it amazing that during the mad cow epidemic, our government could actually track a single cow born in Alberta years ago right to the stall where she slept in the barn? Amazing, isn't it? Well, let's take it one step further then. And they even tracked her calves to that very stall. However, I find it amazing that the government is unable to locate 125,000 illegal immigrants wandering around this great country of ours, Canada. Maybe, when they get off the planes, we should give them each a cow. Also, think about this. If you don't want to tell anyone about my ideas that we're calling the Rob McConnell Retirement Plan for the fear of offending someone, let's face it, you are part of the problem. It is time for us grumpy old folk of Canada to speak up. For the X-Zone Radio TV show and the X-Chronicles newspaper, I am Rob McConnell, and I am a proud Canadian. Explanation, John Horvatt is my special guest. He is a scholar, researcher, educator, international speaker, and author. His book is entitled Return to Order, From a Frenzied Economy to an Organic Christian Society, Where We've Been, How We Got Here, and Where We Need to Go. His website is www.returntoorder.org. So tell me, John, if you were to be placed as the President of the United States, how would you go about making the changes necessary to turn everything around?
That's a good question. I've really never thought